Madam Deputy Speaker, since being elected to Parliament, one of the issues that I've been left in no doubt of whatsoever by many of my constituents is for the UK to take back control of its borders and also to deal with the tide of illegal immigration. We've all seen the sad and appalling scenes, images of asylum seekers making the perilous journey across the Channel, in small boats, on dangerous tides, and frankly it's suicide. But it needs to stop for all the reasons that have been debated today. The UK has shown itself over many years to be more than generous and hospitable, but it cannot be an indefinite blank cheque for those who come here illegally. So the bill, as we know, has three main objectives. First of all, to increase the fairness of the system, and I emphasise the phrase fairness of the system, to better protect and support those in need of asylum. It also deters illegal entry into the United Kingdom, thereby breaking the business model of people smuggling networks and protecting the lives of those they willfully endanger. And it also removes more easily those with no right to be in the UK. The UK's legal immigration system is being reformed by the ending of free movement and the introduction of a new points-based immigration system. So in my view, this bill is intended to tackle illegal migration, asylum seekers, and to control the UK borders, and it fulfils the manifesto promise that was made in 2019. So, some of the facts, if I may. The number of asylum seeker cases is actually growing. We must assess and innovate the current system to create a fairer and more efficient modern system. There were 29,500 asylum applications in 2020 alone, and many more continue to arrive. But contrary to popular perception, the UK will continue to resettle genuine refugees directly from regions of conflict and instability. And this has protected over 25,000 people in the last 6 years, more than any other European country. And rightly, the proposals in this bill will create a differentiated approach. So how somebody arrives in the UK will impact the type of status granted in the UK if their asylum claim is successful. Ministers rightly argue that this approach would discourage irregular entry into the UK, such as entry across the Channel via the small boats, as we've discussed, which again saw a significant increase in 2020. Please do.
Even on its own terms, this won't work. There's not a shred of evidence in the world that tinkering with the asylum system discourages people from coming to claim asylum. And in actual fact, there are parts of this bill that are already in force, including the 6-month palming off of complaints. And of course, we've already got Napier and Penally Barracks. And yet still the number of crossings continues to rise, even with some of these measures in place. It just won't work. People will still come. They won't be put off coming to Britain, but they'll just be put off claiming asylum because of how bloody awful this government is making the system.
Deputy Speaker, I thank my honourable friend for this intervention. I'm pretty clear that the bill is designed to do exactly what I said it's designed to do. What we have to do is to disincentivise the ongoing passage across the Channel. We've got to break this cycle. And if asylum seekers know that entering the UK illegally via that method is not going to result in a successful claim for asylum, then it may stop. And it will also discourage those gangs from willfully imposing their own selfishness on these vulnerable people. So, if I may, on to immigration enforcement. The Australian experience has shown what can be done legally and fairly with state intervention. The bill will provide our border force with additional powers to search unaccompanied containers located within ports for the presence of illegal migrants. It will seize and dispose of vessels intercepted and encountered, including disposal through donation to charity, if appropriate. And it will stop and divert vessels suspected of carrying illegal migrants to the UK, and subject to the agreement of the relevant country, such indeed as France, return them to where their sea journey to the UK began. And let's not forget that almost all of these migrants have passed through many other countries, which should by rights have offered them asylum, rather than progressing to the UK, which clearly people do perceive to be a soft touch. And that has to end. There are currently over 109,000 asylum cases in the system. 52,000 cases awaiting an initial decision at the end of 2020. Around 5,500 have an asylum appeal outstanding, and approximately 41,000 cases are subject to removal action. These figures are completely outrageous, and they point not to any failure by the Home Office, but to the sheer numbers of people that continue to seek the UK as a soft touch. So doing nothing, Madam Deputy Speaker, is no longer an option. And I therefore welcome the measures outlined in this bill. And I'm clear that the asylum system that we currently have is unequivocally in need of reform. So to conclude, Madam Deputy Speaker, this is not a moral or an emotional judgment, but a pragmatic one. Whilst I would urge the government to ensure that implementation is as humane, kind and hospitable as possible, as we have seen for many years, it is time for change, and I'll be voting it through tonight. Thank you.